do today, and then we will. Reminder: your assignments are due tomorrow, and we'll not be working on those today in class. So 2.2 deals with surface area, and 2.3 deals with volume, both of which we have looked at a little bit up to this point in 2.1. The only difference being is just using equations for things like prisms, pyramids, cones, spheres. So let's take a look at an example on page 24. Colby has taken a pottery class. He sketches a set of geometric objects as shown. Before he makes clay models, he adds dimensions to each object. Given the measurements, determine the surface area of each object. Express the answer to the nearest tenth of a square centimeter. Okay. The right cone has a radius of 4.5 centimeters and a slant height of 12 centimeters. Now, take out those sheets that I gave you at the start, the one with the conversions, and let's look at the equations that go on the back of that sheet. Okay? All right. So, the only issue that you're going to see with any of this is maybe having to use Pythagoras' theorem on a triangle to find either the height or the slant height of a particular object. That's the only thing that they do outside of just plug it into this equation that's on the sheet. So let's start with the cone then. And I want the surface area of the cone. What is the surface area of the cone? How do we calculate it?
1/3 times pi r squared times height. Never mind, that's volume.
Okay. So that side, what is that side? No, but what is it? What does the S actually stand for? Slant. Slant height. That's right. Okay, so now the first thing that we have to do is we have to understand what slant height is. So if I am trying to find the surface area, I'm trying to find the surface area of a cone. I need to find the area of the bottom. Well, what shape is the area of the bottom of the cone? It's a circle, right? And how do you find the area of a circle? Pi r squared. So that is this part of it here. So we have the radius of the circle on the bottom, and we want to find the area of it by going pi r squared. The second part is to find the area of this cone right here, which is this part right here. Okay, and in order to do that, we have pi times r times the slant height, both of which are given to us, correct? So, surface area equals pi. What's the radius of that circle? 4.5. Slant height? 12 plus pi times 4.5 squared equals. All right, so let's use our calculators. Take them out. Everybody take your calculator out. Punch it in, and what do we get? Got it? Okay, say that one more time. 233. 263. Perfect, thank you. And I'm looking for surface area, so what are my units on this guy? Square units? And are they all measurements in centimeters? Okay, great. So there we have it. Anybody not get that value on your calculator? Everybody's okay? You might not get it. We can look at your calculator. All right. The second one. Now, again, just before I move on, I broke this into two shapes. I looked at the cone part of it, right? And then I took the circle on the bottom. And the area for this guy is right here. The area for the cone part of it, the cone shape of it, was right here. So if you happen to not understand what the equations mean, they generally are broken up into parts. And so we sometimes have to just break it down into the simple part of a rectangle, a circle, a square, a triangle. Okay? Now I say that because the next question here is with a right pyramid. Okay? The right pyramid has a square base with a side length of 16 and a slant height of 12 centimeters. So I want to find the surface area of it. Okay. So to begin with, look at the base of that pyramid. How do I find the area of the base of that pyramid? Length times width, correct? What's the length? 16 centimeters. What's the width? 16 centimeters. So the area is 196. Oh, that's 256. Right. 256 centimeters squared. So what did I just find? The area of the base of the right pyramid. Okay? Now, to find the area of each individual piece there's four faces to it, correct? And what shape are all those four faces?
Triangle.
They're all triangles. And how do I find the area of a triangle? 1/2 base times height. Okay? Now notice I have 4 because there's 4 faces. We all agree? So what is 4 times 1/2? 2. I'd like you to now look at your equation for a right pyramid on your sheet. What is the equation for the right pyramid on the sheet? 2bs plus b squared. Here's b squared. There's your base. Because it's a square, it's b times b. In this case, 16 times 16. We agree? Now, b and h is what I had here. But what is h actually? The slant height. Because we're talking about the triangular face. Okay, so the base is 16, correct? It gives you the slant height. What's the slant height? 12. And there's 4 of them. So 4 times 1/2 times base times height, or 2 times the base times the slant height, which is what the equation says to you. So 2 by 16 by 12 is equal to. A little louder, please. 384 centimeters squared. Add that to 256 centimeters squared. And what does that equal? (640 centimeters squared). Are we okay? Now notice I didn't just plug it into the equation just this time. This time I didn't. I broke it down into its parts so that you understand where the equation actually comes from. Alright? The equation comes from 4 triangles, in which the area of each triangle is 1/2 base height. So 4 times 1/2 is 2. 2 times the base, whatever the length of the base is, times the slant height, which is exactly what's given there. Surface area of a pyramid, 2bs plus b squared. Now, what happens if it's not b squared? Let's say I have a rectangle. How does that change the situation? Well, it's going to come up. So I'm going to show it to you right now. Let's try this. Okay, so let's say hypothetically this was 12 and this was 16, and your slant height was 18, let's say. It's gonna be a little hard here. Hypothetically. Okay, so I'm just making this up. I'm not gonna do the question, but I just want to talk to you about it. How do I find the area of the base to begin with? 12 times 16. That's length times width, correct? All right. This triangle right here has the dimensions of 12 across the base and 18 as the height. How do I find the area of that one triangle?
12 times 18 divided by 2.
Okay, excellent. So then the area of that one triangle is 1/2 12 by 18. We agree?
Yeah.
How many of those triangles are there?
2.
There's what?
2.
There's 2. So I also have to multiply that by 2. What about the sides? This guy is 16 by 18 again. Okay? What's the area of that triangle right there? 1/2 16 by 18, agree? All right? And how many of those triangles are there? 1 here, and 1 right here. So there's 2 of them. So the only way the question can change is by putting a rectangular base. The only other way it can change, there's a third way in which they can ask this exact same question, is they could force you to find the slant height. So what they would give you is the height of this, in which you have a right angle. You would know this distance here because it's half of this distance, and you'd need to find that slant height right here. So that's the only other way they'll ask you that question. So that'll be further on as you get going. How do you find any missing side if it's a right triangle?
A squared plus B squared.
A squared plus B squared equals C squared, that's right. Okay, so I'm just showing you this just for the heck of it. All right, now I have a sphere. On your sheet, what is the surface area of a sphere? 4 pi r squared. What's the radius of this sphere? 4.5. Square it. So what's 4 by pi by 4.5 squared?
254.469.
Thank you. There's your sphere. All right. You will have those equations given to you. You have that conversion sheet. You will be able to take that into each test. Be able to take it into your exam. Well, it'll be given to you for your exam. But you'll have this. So all you need to do is be able to know what each of these are, and then just fill in for each of them. Is everybody okay with that? All right, so let's look at 2.3. What's the difference between 2.1 and 2.3?
The one you lose is the space, huh?
That's right. That's absolutely right, Morgan. Okay, what am I looking for now? Volume, which is the amount of space that is contained or taken up. So we're using all the volume equations for this particular question. Julie makes glass beads and is experimenting with 2 new designs. A conical bead and a spherical bead. Determine how much glass is needed to make each bead. Express the answer to the nearest tenth. All right, so how do I find the volume of a sphere? 4/3?
Or times pi r to the power of 3.
Okay. Again, there's only one unknown. Well, there's 2, but there's going to be 1 given to you. So in this case, what's the radius?
7 millimeters.
Is it 7?
Yeah, because it's 14 millimeters.
The diameter is 14, therefore this is 7.
Yeah.
And there you have it. All right. So how do I punch that into my calculator? Somebody tell me the exact keystrokes into my calculator, because everybody's going to need to know this. Go ahead, Rory.
4 divided by 3 times 5, and then brackets, it's 7 divided by 3.
What shows the power of on your calculator?
The y with the x.
You have a y at the x. Does anybody have a little hat? Yeah. Okay. I don't use brackets. I use brackets to write down this. The only time I use brackets is if I have division with adding or subtracting on the top or the bottom. Okay? I don't suggest use brackets. If it shows brackets when I write it, what does it actually mean? Multiply. Multiply, that's correct. Okay? So your keystrokes, everybody punch this into your calculator. 4 divided by 3 times your pi button times 7. Some of you will have a y to the x, some of you will have a hat. 3 equals. Okay, punch it in and make sure that we all get the exact same answer, please. What do you have?
1,436.755.
Anybody not able to get that answer? Okay, let's have a look.
I didn't have it. I had it before. I used it on the other way.
Okay. Yep, times. There's your pi button. Right here. Yep, good. Times 7. Y to the x. No. Y to the x right there. Okay, now hit 3 and equals.
Oh, wrong button.
Yeah. You're good now?
Yep.
Yeah, so if you want 7 cubed, you go 7 and then the y to the x and 3.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else not get it?
Yeah.
Can you help him?
I don't know why that.
Anybody else not get it on the calculator? So we can check your keystrokes. Everyone's okay? All right. That's all I need to go through right now today. So that's 2-2 and 2-3. So here's what we're looking at. Okay? Today's Wednesday, right? So you're going to complete 2.1 today. Thursday, 2-2 and 2-3. Friday, complete 2-3. Begin your review. Tuesday, review. I do have the pretest ready to go. So let me do a little bit of talking about a pretest right now. The pretest is more questions in the format of what the test is going to look like. Now, in years past, every time I give a pretest, somebody just takes it and they start doing it and they ask questions from the next guy. That's not the point of the pretest. The pretest should be done 2 days before your test. Do it with just your formula sheet, no books, no nothing. Go through and do every question on it. Check the answers. The answers are on the back shelf. You can take a picture of them with your phone so that you have them. Circle any of the questions that you get incorrect. And then ask them on Tuesday or the day before the test. Do not just use it as more questions and do the same thing you're doing all the time. It's not helping you study. You want to know whether or not you're going to do well on the test, then do the pretest the exact same way you would do your test. And then just circle the answers that you got wrong and ask for help. Because what's gonna happen is you're gonna get the exact same question on the test, and you're gonna do it wrong again, because you didn't figure out how to get it done correctly, or why you're doing it wrong. Does everybody understand? So you'll get the pre-test usually 2 or 3 days in advance, but it should not be going, you shouldn't be going right to it until you've completed all your work. It should be the last thing you do 2 days before the test. So that way on the last day before the test, all you're doing is fixing up your errors. Everything else you'll know. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay? Be that person that does it the right way, and your mark will stay consistent, and your mark will go up on your test if you know what you actually don't know. The only way you figure that out is to do it. If you're doing the pre-test and you're asking the person next to you, they're doing it for you, and you won't get that question right on the test. Does everyone understand what I'm saying here? Okay? The pre-test is not just more questions. You have lots of questions in the book. You have a review in the book. You have a chapter test in the book. You have lots of stuff to do. It's not for that. It's for checking to see whether or not you're going to do well on the test. Everybody understand? Okay. Are there questions from 2.1 that you worked on yesterday that you need to look at today? $14. David installed a rain barrel to store rainwater for the use in his garden. Is that the one?
Never mind, I get it now.
Okay. Anybody else have questions today?
It's okay, I have to ask him what
Okay. So you should be completed or close to completing 2.1 and get on to 2.2 today and 2.3 tomorrow. All right? Go to work. Before you go to work, I need an adjustment in this classroom. Ladies, if you come into this classroom at the end of the day and you're